Hello, everyone. We're here with the lead up to the World Hydrogen Asia event in Tokyo from July 8th to the 10th. We're talking with Ryan Gawrych, who's going to be one of our esteemed speakers at our event. Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about the type of work you do, what brought you into hydrogen, um, and the type of work you're doing with hydrogen at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So for those of you in the audience, my name is Ryan Gawrych. I'm a local partner at White and Case in both the London and Hamburg offices in the project development and finance practice. My background is primarily on the project development side, and for a number of years, I've been working primarily in energy transition, with a focus more on the molecule side of the energy transition as opposed to the electron side. So working on a variety of different products from sustainable aviation fuel, biofuels, through to hydrogen and ammonia. And I think the way I've come to hydrogen and ammonia over the last couple of years is the traditional sort of large energy clients, multinational energy clients that the firm works for and have been a staple of the firm for a number of decades, have started to look at new sources of energy off the back of customer demands, but also decarbonizing their existing offerings. So with that sort of platform, working with a lot of IOCs and NOCs that are looking at low carbon solutions, and hydrogen has been one of them. That has allowed me to be fortunate enough to be part of the team working on a variety of projects in the Middle East and in Europe, as well as opportunities as far afield as Australia, India, and also working in the United States as well. So that's giving you a rough background of sort of the broad nature of the practice. Very much on the producer side, but also more recently, as a number of projects have been reaching FID, and various jurisdictions have been looking ahead, also working on the storage and infrastructure side of things as well, particularly in Germany.
That's very interesting. I think a lot of people come into the hydrogen space through, I mean, essentially what you said is the oil and gas
Yeah,
side of things. Though there are some people that come from the renewables side more and more these days, I think. Um, I see that you were studying in the University of Queensland. I'm assuming that means that's originally where you're from.
originally from Australia, yes, and
Yeah.
my career took me from Australia up through Asia. Lived and worked in Mongolia, China, Malaysia, then across to the UAE, London, and now Germany.
Very cool. And I also see that you've worked on some quite interesting transactions in the hydrogen space in the last few years, particularly in the Middle East. Do you want
That's
to
right.
tell us about some of those, what you can tell?
What you can tell.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the most recent one has been working for Saudi Aramco. Saudi Aramco is a long-standing client of White and Case, and they are one of those energy companies I was referring to earlier that are looking at decarbonizing and looking at new products for their customer base. So one of the most recent transactions was Saudi Aramco's acquisition of a 50% interest in blue hydrogen industrial gases, which is the company that is currently constructing a blue hydrogen facility in Jubail. That facility is currently being constructed by Air Products. So it was Saudi Aramco's 50% sort of acquisition of that facility and the creation of the joint venture with Air Products to create a new source of blue hydrogen that would be used in other refining and industrial processes within the Jubail area of Saudi Arabia.
Very cool. And that very much relates to the region that we're going to be speaking about from July 8th to the 10th. I believe Saudi Aramco has already had some business dealings with Japan and Korea in terms of offtake.
They have indeed, and if you go back a number of years, Japan and Korea were also the first markets that Saudi Aramco and SABIC actually exported the first cargoes of blue ammonia to Japan and Korea. And that has long-standing relationship there between Saudi Aramco and customers in Japan and Korea, and now looking at providing new products for those customers as well.
Yeah, exactly. So While you're with us at our event, you'll be speaking about offtake agreements,
That's
as
right.
you are a law firm. Um, what do you think? We don't want to spoil too much of what we're going to hear from you on the day, but what sort of general topics do you think are important to cover in an offtake agreement? You know, take or pay, a variety of different things. That are specific to hydrogen, regardless of the carbon intensity.
Yeah, so I think that when it comes to hydrogen and ammonia offtake contracts, I think the market generally has been um, coming to grips with how to approach these. Are they sort of similar to a LNG offtake contract from sort of the early days of LNG point to point? Are they something different? Are they something unique? Are they something that you'll take elements from the petrochemicals industry? And I think the short answer to that is that it's a bit of everything. And it really depends on the jurisdiction within which the producer is based, the intended customer base for export projects in particular. And then I think also the fundamental issue, and we'll get into this in the session in Tokyo, but the tension between producer and customer expectations and how you actually create deal space. A lot of the mechanisms that we'll be talking about are tried and tested. It's just that they haven't been tested in this kind of environment. There's also the challenges of having a nascent market. And also, I think the offtake trilemma is something that gets talked about a lot. The fact that there's no liquid market, there's limited market pricing signals, and there's inherent uncertainty with the product. So in the existing kit bag of various mechanisms that can be used in offtake contracts, what do you actually need to deploy here for bankable, long-term, profitable contracts?
Yeah, indeed. And do you see any sort of unique dynamics in terms of offtake, as far as a region goes, in terms of Asia, that might be slightly different than what you would see in your experience with offtake here in Europe or perhaps in the US?
Yeah, so I think the experiences that on the Asia side of things have very much been informed by the experiences with LNG. Also, the various auction rounds that have been held by sort of the Korean government recently for blue ammonia as well has really informed some of the offtake contracts that are in the markets to service those jurisdictions. I think generally, what we're also seeing is that the Asian market, again, is very much focused on the export side of things for offtake contracts. Very, very different to what we're seeing in Europe, where you have more production being either co-located or fairly closely located to demand sources. So it tends to be within one or two jurisdictions. It's not sort of, it's pipeline transport or transport via other means. It's not necessarily converting it to ammonia and then shipping it across to Japan and then back cracking it, or just using it as ammonia directly in the Japanese or Korean markets.
Yeah, that is quite unique, I guess, at the moment. It's really creating this huge regional value chain. It's not really a local consumption. It involves a lot of different sectors.
Yeah,
Um,
the
Go
other
ahead.
thing that's particularly interesting about Asia is sort of the rise of China. So one of the real interesting things is when you look at the statistics around hydrogen projects that are actually reaching FID over the last couple of years, there's been a 80% increase in the last 12 months in the number of projects that are actually reaching FID in China. So there's most of that is going to local domestic demand within China. But if you extrapolate that out over the next 5 years or so, there's going to be probably an excess of product coming out of the Chinese market that will also go towards the wider Northeast Asian region.
Yeah, it is quite interesting. This sort of interregional value chain is very much kind of focused outside of China at the moment. But like you're
Mm,
saying, where will we be in 5, 10 years? How
exactly.
much will China be in and be allowed to be in this global regional value chain? So lots of topics to discuss when we're in Tokyo and
Indeed.
Dubai. So we look forward to having you in our session, and good luck with all of your transactions until then.
Thank you very much.